Hey, hey, ho, everybody out there in video land. Yes. Fourth attempt at recording this React video. Woke up, migraine, blah, blah, blah. Cutting out my introduction. Um, all sorts of things happening in the middle of the night that should not be happening, including taking care of my sweet little kitty cat. So, to you, Metratron, love you, love your videos. You are, however, largely incorrect. Um, but that's just it. I think that you were making generalizations and using this video as an example for those generalizations. And so I'll call you technically correct. I think that's also the phrase that you use when people make generalizations and use an example. So, using an example, technically correct in general, concept, agree with you. Largely incorrect about this particular example that you're using. And I want to state why. So, enjoying ourselves very much and had a good dinner. I'm going to start with this first so I don't forget it. You say something equivalent to kids, newer generations, younger generations today would not be talking about having a good dinner. Yeah, if it were an average thing, like talking about a Sunday roast, yeah, I've noticed that too. Uh, However, not about this one. This is something where kids today would be saying, "Oh yeah, no, we had a good dinner." And I say that being 46 years old, not that old. I'm trying to pretend I'm not that old. But I've, you know, younger generation. I mean, I've, you know, working in the hotel for 5 years, talking with younger kids. If they went out and had a great dinner or an event, um, 5 years at a hotel, young kids come in. Oh yeah, no, we had a great dinner. Yeah, I disagree with you. Maybe it's a regional thing between the U.S. and Italy. Not sure. But yeah, this event that you're watching here, I believe, recorded in 1929, is an event that was sponsored by and encouraged by the U.S. government. Started quite a few years after the end of the Civil War, and the idea was a reunion with survivors of the Civil War, people who fought on both sides. Um, Sometimes they would reenact, but then they would shake hands. There are videos where you can, or at least a couple of videos that still exist to this day, where you would see that. And a lot of morons and a-holes nowadays, including people my age, do not know why. And you will see pundits say that. People who are educated say this is the reason why, because it was a violent, horrible fight for our country's identity. And it's easy to go look in hindsight and say one side was clearly right and one side was clearly wrong. Even though the horrors of slavery were being decried a long time ago, it was a new idea to abolish and end slavery in the 17 and 1800s. A brand new fancy idea. And that's what the war was about. And the chattel slavery that the war was being fought over was, it was a vicious fight. Horrors of World War I and World War II were learned by monsters from examples set in the American Civil War. And the U.S. federal government said, okay, we got to try to make people feel better about living next to each other after trying to blow each other's brains out. So that's what these celebrations were about. We fought. We're still alive. We're the lucky ones. We should learn to get together. So when they talk about having a very good dinner, it's not about a dinner, man. Although you probably realize that and you're probably making a generalized point, I want to make sure that people who watch your video, watch my React video, understand what I'm saying when I say it wasn't just about the food. Now, as far as your comments about the music, I swear to God, I've seen this without the music. And I thought it was at the Library of Congress, but I couldn't find it. I also, for some reason, can't find anything on archive.org. I like to pride myself as a researcher who can find almost anything, but there are days where the search metric in the computer says, ha ha! All right, well, let me do a better Nelson. So, yeah. I can't find it. I found a couple other videos about Civil War celebrations and reenactments. Not this one, but I know this one exists. So, the person who put this video up on YouTube that you're reacting to, they added things like life in the 1800s, and they added the music, probably to claim some sort of copyright. I guarantee you, videos like this are available. Now, we're going on to when you're talking about their accents and military men and military gentlemen. There is so much to unpack about why you are technically correct and also largely or incorrect about this particular video. The first one is this particular accent still exists today. It exactly exists today. A lot of people have erroneously claimed that this accent died or their voices are high pitched. Watch Technology Connections, watch Tech Moan, watch anything else on YouTube. Recordings from this era, anywhere from the late 1800s when recordings were first invented to the speed at which things were recorded and speed at which recorded material degraded just varied so greatly. I guarantee you their voices were not that high-pitched in reality. There are so many reasons why. The different speeds at which the recording was processed when it was turned into a video. They used one machine to record, and then the original interview, which would have been like 1929, and when everything was digitized or even transferred from one media to another, different speeds and different machines recorded it differently. And there was something, I want to say Techmoan said this, but it probably wasn't Techmoan, it was probably someone else. A lot of people, when they transferred and preserved these materials, they didn't match the speeds, or they had to use a different box to play it, and different recording box to play it, and a different recording box to record it than was originally recorded. So the speed on one box might have said 33 RPM when really it was like 31 RPM. So when you get another box and you play the recording, whether it was a wire, or whether it was tape, or whether it was wax, or whether it was vinyl, and you would put it on 33 RPM, it might even be 34 RPM. So then you get faster speed in their voices, and their voices would be pitched up. And oh God, it's a total mess. There's no such thing as standardized anything. But almost all of these recordings from this era, when you listen to people's voices after they were preserved, their voices are high-pitched. That's not the way that they should be. One famous example is the Hindenburg. People made fun of it so long, saying, listen to the guy, he's high-pitched, he's high-pitched. And recently, within the last few years, there was analysis on the video, and they used some aspects that are in the background of the recording to determine what speed that the man was actually speaking, and they slowed it down. These audio researchers slowed it down, and when you listen to the Hindenburg, when it's actually played at the correct speed, it ceases to become a high-pitched, quick-paced, fast audio, which people made fun of for decades. And it suddenly becomes a low-pitched terror fest of people dying and someone watching all these people burned to death and jumping from the Hindenburg. So can't trust the pitch of their voice. There are many other reasons, such as the recording material degrading uh, or whatnot. I guarantee you their voices were not that high pitched, though, because I've listened to too many of these recordings in my life, and I mean, I can hear the artificial acceleration or artificial pitch in their voices from the attempt to restore and capture the original recording. Now, as far as their clipped tone, you say military. Um, yes and no. uh, living and working in customer service and hospitality for 5 years, talk to somebody who wants to make sure that they are clearly heard on the telephone as opposed to talking to the same person in real life. I guarantee you there is a difference, and that's just with people talking on cell phones. They've got a clipped, not necessarily fast, but they enunciated properly enunciated vowels and consonants. If they think that their cell phone might be going out, then they show up, and then it's colloquial speech, slurring some consonants, vowels, words, talking, blah blah blah. Totally different attitude. And I'm telling you right now, back then, people were well aware of the failings of audio recordings, and these men knew that they were being recorded for posterity. We're going to be recorded, and we're going to be this is important. So we're going to talk about things in a way where people understand, and we're going to make sure that all of our words are being heard properly because this, that, this, and another. You get what I'm saying, right? They were making sure that if the recording was ever played again in the future, that people would understand exactly what they were saying. So that's why I say I've heard this accent before. I've heard it on the phone, and I've heard it in person. And I guarantee you that this accent is alive and well. And it's not necessarily because they're military men either. Now, there's one final point I'd like to make. It looks like my video is going to be just as long as your video. I want everybody to watch your video, though. That's why I'm not playing any of it. You talk about a comment where they say, when you sign up for the war, not for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months. The Civil War was violent and brutal. And a lot of people today pretend that it wasn't violent and brutal. And one of the most brutal aspects, I'm not talking about torture. I'm not talking about 80 acres of hell or Camp Andersonville. I'm not talking about the brutality, the physical brutality. I'm talking about the emotional brutality. One household on the border. This is a story that happened dozens and dozens of times. Eldest son volunteers to go off to either side. Battle lines change. Military, let's say one son volunteers to either go to the volunteers. Another military from the competing side comes in, conscripts at gunpoint. Both eldest sons go off to join either military. Or militaries come in. Say the Confederates come in first, conscripts at gunpoint. Union came in first, conscripts at gunpoint. Conscription, however, was not always considered conscription. It was considered forced enlistment. There was no end. Men who tried to leave at the end of their enlistment, depending on who was leading that particular battalion, may or may not have been allowed to leave. Or even if they tried to leave, they would have been shot. This was a war for the United States identity. There was no 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. You were there to fight the war. There have been studies on this that's saying different things, sometimes politically motivated studies. In general, the Union Army seemed to obey the enlistment for 1, 2, or 3 months more than the Confederate. Then again, there were Confederate generals. I believe the militia was it in Georgia or I want to say it was Georgia. It might have been something else. The governor allowed his men to be used by the Confederate Army up until the border, and at the border, the orders for the soldiers were told to stop. So as long as the war came to Georgia, they would fight. If the war didn't come to Georgia, they wouldn't fight. I think it was Georgia. I might be wrong. Please correct me in the comments if I am wrong on which state where that happened in the Confederacy. There was something similar with the northern states, but the federal government asserted its dominance over the National Guard, and they were forced to. The governor, whoever it was forced to say, "Oh, okay, I guess my men do have to leave." Anyway, so Metratron, love ya, love everything you're doing. I hope that I said something that was informative. I hope that I didn't come across as being a know-it-all or a jerk. You're wonderful. I think you're making some generalizations that are largely true. Some instances technically true. Even if they were slightly wrong about this particular video. Wow, this video is actually longer than my third attempt. But I think I'd phrase things a little bit better. Take care, everybody. If you're watching this video, go watch his site. Go watch everything. Have a wonderful day. Bye.